Hey guys, welcome back to Mystery Teachings. This is just a short bonus episode for you. As many of you know, I'm doing a series about flat Earth or flat versus globe, and I was thinking to put together a bonus episode for you just to summarize the best and the most important parts of part 5 and part 6. I not only summarize these two parts and show you the most important bullet points when it comes to curvature or the lack of curvature, but I want to give you some extra and some new information that you haven't seen in these two parts. And before we do anything, because I saw the comments, I want to do some clarification, because I can see people are still confused and they don't really see the difference between the heliocentric, aka globe, or the geocentric, aka flat model. So what I said in part 1, when people say that this is what flat earthers believe, this is not true. And the reason I say this, because I was a glober 100%. I said that many times, and I ridiculed flat earthers. I said it was stupid, and the whole reason I started this series is because I wanted to debunk it. But as I said in part 1, that's not the case. It didn't happen, and if you follow the series, you know that. But I find it really annoying that a lot of globers spread fake news that, look, this is what flat earthers believe. Ha ha ha, they are so stupid, right? And that's not true. So I can't do anything about that, and it will probably continue. But as I said, I clarified this in part 1, so here is a short reminder from that episode. But basically, just to clarify this whole thing, we have two Earth models that we talk about. One is the heliocentric model, the other is the geocentric model. The heliocentric model, what we know today, is that the Sun is the center of the universe and all the other planets, including the Earth and everything else, moves around the Sun. Whereas the geocentric, aka flat Earth model, that's where the Earth is the center of the universe. The Earth is stationary, it's not moving, just as we feel it, and then the Sun, the Moon, and the stars and everything else rotate around us in the sky, just as we see it. But for now, I just want you to understand that we have these two models, the heliocentric and the geocentric. And when you see images like this, that's basically mixing up the two. So zero flat earthers believe in this bullshit. This is not real. This is created by the media and others who want you to think that flat earth is stupid. Okay, so just to clarify this even further, I was asking artificial intelligence what is the geocentric model, and it told me that it's an ancient astronomical concept that places the Earth at the center of the universe. Very important. According to this model, 1. Earth is stationary, it does not move, while all other celestial bodies, including the Sun, Moon, planets and stars, revolve around it. So the Earth is the center, it's stationary, it's not moving, and everything else moves in the sky. This is exactly what we experience, right? Number 2, circular orbits. The paths of celestial bodies were thought to be perfect circles, a reflection of the ancient belief in the perfection of the heavens. Now, another interesting thing is that they called it celestial bodies, but I'm gonna go to more details in a moment. And this model was widely accepted in ancient and medieval times, widely accepted. So again, when people say that all ancient civilizations knew that the Earth is round, I mean, guys, you can keep repeat that information, but it's still not true. They didn't. This was widely accepted, the geocentric model, especially due to the influence of Greek philosophers like Aristotle and Ptolemy. So another thing is when people say that these philosophers, they were globers. No, it's not true. So Ptolemy refined the model in his work, the Almagest, I hope I pronounce it well, using complex systems like epicycles, which means small circles along which planets move while orbiting Earth. Planets orbiting Earth. We're gonna discuss that in a moment. To explain observable phenomena such as retrograde motion. The geocentric model was eventually replaced by the heliocentric or sun-centered model proposed by Nicolaus Copernicus in the 16th century. So again, that's when it started. Before that, every ancient civilization thought and believed that the Earth was stationary, and we're gonna talk about that in lot of details later in the series, all the ancient civilizations. But anyway, this shift marked the beginning of the scientific revolution. Yeah, I'm sure it did. Now, another thing is that people say that, you know, I look in my telescope and I can see Jupiter and Mars or Venus or whichever, and they look round, so the Earth cannot be flat. Now, this is again a big misunderstanding, and I really want to clarify that one too. So in the geocentric model, planets are, the word planet is coming from a Greek origin meaning wandering star. Now, I was also asking AI if I'm correct with that or not. It said, yes, that's true. The word planet comes from the ancient Greek word planetes, which means wanderer or wandering star. This term was derived from planao, meaning to wander or to stray. Now, here it continues. Ancient Greek astronomers noticed that certain celestial objects moved across the sky differently from the fixed stars. So let me just stop here for a second. They thought that the stars were fixed. How are they fixed, or what are they fixed on? Well, that's the belief of this massive celestial dome, also known as the firmament. We didn't discuss that in the series yet, but we will in lot of details again, and we will see the possibility whether it can exist or not. So we're gonna go into details, but this is what they believe. So there were some celestial bodies that moved differently from the fixed stars. These objects, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, these five, appeared to wander against the backdrop of the night sky, so they were called wanderers. Over time, this term evolved into the modern word planet. So this is where it comes from. They were lights in the sky. They are lights in the sky. That's what these people believed, and that's what the flat earthers believe. And so to clarify, in the heliocentric model, the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting the Sun on elliptical orbits at 67,000 miles per hour. And since it's elliptical, not a perfect circle, there should be acceleration and deceleration, but we feel nothing. And not only that, the Sun is also moving at a crazy almost 500,000 miles per hour. Meanwhile, the entire Milky Way galaxy is shooting through the universe at 1.3 million miles per hour. And this is what flat earthers don't believe. And as I said again, I was a glober, but I didn't know this. I didn't even know that the Sun was moving. I thought in school that the Sun has a fixed location. And after seeing all this, well, I cannot believe that anymore either. So just to clarify who believes what, okay? Now, as I said, the word planet evolved from the word wandering star, and regardless what you see in the sky, that does not determine the shape of the Earth. So by looking up and seeing Jupiter or Mars or whichever, that does not determine whether the Earth is stationary and flat or not. So I just wanted to clarify, we talk about two different models, the heliocentric and the geocentric. If you want to place flat Earth in the heliocentric model, that will look stupid indeed. I agree with that, but that's not the case. So I hope it's clear, and now let's go to the best of the two episodes. And this is probably the most important, or one of the most important parts in this entire journey, the curvature. If we have a curvature, we live on a globe. If we don't have it, we don't live on a globe. And if there were any measurable curvature, there wouldn't be any flat earthers, which is true. Now, we also discussed in part 1 that on the left, if the Earth is a globe, then you see a curvature drop after going higher and higher, or if it's flat, then the horizon line, which is a straight level line, always rises up to the eye level. And that's exactly what we see on every single photograph. The only option where we see something else is when we see NASA and space agency footages, but that's where we're gonna continue the series, so I don't want to go into those details now. But if you look at all these photos, and feel free to Google any photos or you know, from professional people who make different type of nature photographies, long distance photographies, and see it for yourself. This is what you always see. No matter where you are, how high or how low, you always see a straight horizon line, and the horizon line always rises up to the eye level. So as I said, and as I asked in part 5, how is this possible on this? And I also showed you this footage when these people from this plane recorded the moon and the sun both below the horizon line. Now, in the heliocentric model, this is not possible, because this means that both the sun and the moon are actually here above the Earth and not out there in space. So this tells you a lot. Now, I was also asking artificial intelligence that at what altitude can we see the curvature, and it tells me that it becomes visible at around 35,000 feet, which is the cruising altitude of commercial airplanes. But that's not really enough and may not be noticeable to everyone. So for an unmistakable view of the curvature, it's visible from around 60,000 feet and higher, such as from the perspective of high altitude balloons or spacecraft. The curvature is clear due to the broader view of the Earth. Now, if you remember, we went to 70,000, which is already higher, and I showed you this US spy plane footage, and where is the unmistakable curvature view? All I see is a straight line. Apart from that, I showed you the high altitude balloon footages, which is literally twice as high as ChatGPT's 60,000 feet. So these balloon footages are from around 120,000 feet. And let me show you that clip again and decide for yourself. And we went up even higher than that, and I showed you the footage from Blue Origin. They can go up to 60 miles or nearly 100 kilometers, and there is no curvature at all. And after that, we also clarified what a wide angle lens is and does, because some people said in the comments that this Blue Origin footage is fake and the high altitude balloon footages are with wide angle lens, and they think that there's curvature, but the lens makes the curve look completely straight and level. That's not what the wide angle lens does. It does the opposite. It curves horizontal lines, and I showed you examples when you can see the curvature even on the ground, or this jet pilot, the same thing, or these people, apparently they are skydiving in space. And I showed you that you can find many videos, especially if it's a GoPro, because the GoPro has fisheye lens built in it or wide angle lens built in it, and you see the same curve on the ground. So that's just a little bit of trickery. Don't believe that that's curvature, because it's not. and this is the difference between a real high altitude balloon footage and one with the fisheye lens. I also showed you some examples how this lens, the wide angle lens, basically curves horizontal lines, and what does it look like when it's attached to footage. This is what it looks like, and I showed you some more examples. For example, these jets, and you can see how the horizon line is curved and then it's level and then it becomes concave. Now, another interesting thing was, this was from Part 6, that people say that this is proof of the curvature, which I said I cannot accept, because first of all, we have a completely straight horizon line, so it's not possible that we have a curvature this way, but we have zero curvature this way. That is not possible. And then we discussed how the amount of water in the air can basically change the horizon line, or it looks like it's changing, and you can see that entire cities can completely disappear due to the amount of water in the air. So we clarified that, and then we went to long distance photographies, and I showed you some examples. For example, the world record long distance photography, where they captured the mountain from 443 kilometers away, and I showed you the calculation from this article. This is not my calculation, they did it for us, and there should be 16,500 feet or 5,000 meters or 505 kilometers of curvature, and obviously you have none of it because everything is visible. And another example, I showed you the Mont Blanc being captured from 700 miles or 1,127 kilometers away, which is a crazy long distance, and there should be 60-mile or 100-kilometer curvature. And just for those who want to say this is just refraction, because everything that we see in a crazy distance is always the refraction, regardless the distance, everything just refracts perfectly straight in front of you in a straight line. So just to understand, the highest mountain in the world is the Mount Everest, which is 8.8 kilometers or 5.5 miles above sea level. So, but we talk about 60 miles or nearly 100 kilometers of missing curvature. So you cannot say that the peak of the mountain should be visible, or the top of the mountain, because Mont Blanc is only 4.8 kilometer high, or roughly 3 miles. And again, 60 miles is missing, but the mountain is there. And then here is one that I didn't show you, so this is a new one. You can see how far is the skyline of Atlanta, which is 80 miles away, and then you look at the footage. This is infrared camera, and you can see it perfectly. Everything is straight upright, so again, there's zero curvature. And I showed you a really good clip, a very important clip from a documentary series called Flatlanders, and the guy is capturing mountains in a distance where they absolutely shouldn't be visible. So here is the clip one more time.
Exciting location, Malibu, California, and we're watching mountains in the distance in infrared. This is a converted infrared camera. I can see Mount Baldy about 70, 80 miles away, and I can see the Arrowhead Mountain barely because it's got snow on top. That's at about 115 miles. But Mount San Jacinto, right now, I cannot tell if I'm picking it up or not. Later when I go home and I process the information in Photoshop, sometimes I just contrast any, I spot it, but we can at least see something in the distance. And usually the cloud cover, so there's a slight cloud cover that blocks the infrared light from the sun. So the mountain could be in an infrared shadow, but the other ones show up, so that's great. So lots of cool stuff. It's exciting to be able to see that far, right? 123 miles away, mountains that shouldn't be visible, Now that I've lived this reality for a while, it's not as exciting, but when you first hear about it, it's like shocking, So I went through my, paradigm shift about 5 years ago, and everything kind of just boom, 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 like a domino effect. And I realized, oh my God, we're like under a dome.
Another good example when the curvature is missing is this long distance video the guy recorded himself from 12.4 miles or 20 kilometers away without curvature.
This is the 2-foot long lens which is going to make this possible. It's one of the longest and most efficient lenses which can allow you to shoot extremely long distances. I have no idea why anyone would actually want to have this in real life. It is a 452 times zoom, which is, well, stupid. We're going to be able to see from one end of this extremely long desert road which stretches across this giant valley for about 12 miles. I'm going to be standing all the way on the other end of that, and then we're going to have this camera fastened safe and sound right here at this little clear out here, far away from the road, but still aimed at the exact other end of it. As you can see from the final result, this is how it looks like to be filmed from 12 miles away. So I'm petitioning Guinness World Records. I'm looking right at you, Guinness, wherever you are, to basically allow me to gain this world record.
And we also did some calculations, and basically the guy shouldn't be visible at all, but he is. So just another proof. Now let's talk about the ships again, and let me show you that clip from part 6. First of all, I was asking Google AI how far we can see at sea level, and it tells me that you can see about 2.9 miles or 4.5 kilometers due to the curvature of the Earth. This is the distance to the horizon. Okay, now what's the definition of the horizon? It means the line at which the Earth's surface and the sky appear to meet. So it looks like the sky meets the ocean, but we know that it doesn't happen. Okay, here is another definition which is also important, the vanishing point. 1. The point at which receding parallel lines viewed in perspective appear to converge. 2. The point at which something that has been growing smaller or increasingly faint disappears altogether. Now please remember all these definitions, and here is a couple of footages where you stand at the beach and people with a high zoom camera or telescope, they zoom in, and guess what happens? You can bring back the ship into view. It doesn't disappear due to curvature. It disappears due to perspective. Here is another example when they zoom in like crazy, and there you go. There's the ship again. So let me show you a couple of more examples with high zoom cameras, and again you can decide for yourself, but it looks like this is just perspective. Things disappear beyond the vanishing point, and this is how our eyes can see. So here is a couple of more examples, and we continue with more details in a moment. So again, this is how our eyes work. We can only see a certain distance before we see the horizon line, which means that the sky meets the ocean, but we know that's not the case. So things disappear beyond the vanishing point. Here is this example with the city in the distance. You can perfectly see the city and the straight horizon line, and if we zoom out, you can see that it's not because of curvature, it's because of our limited eye vision. Or here is one last example, and it's the same thing. So this is how perspective works. I was also talking about what the AI told me about if the Earth was flat, then why is it that the bottom of the ship disappeared first. I just want to show you a short part of that. You can see the full conversation in the full episode in part 6. So it said if the Earth were flat, the bottom of the ship would still disappear first due to the effects of vision and light reflection. The light reaching the distant horizon runs lower than the upper parts of the ship. Due to the atmospheric effects and angular differences, lower parts might blend into or become invisible due to the limits of sight, where higher parts remain visible longer. Another important point which we also talked about, this science article that says that the Earth's surface curves out of sight at a distance of 3.1 miles or 5 kilometers. And I pointed out that if this was true, lighthouses would be completely useless, and I was asking ChatGPT about that. How far can people see? And the captains can see lighthouses. Feel free to pause it and read it for yourself. But basically, the captains wouldn't see lighthouses if the Earth was actually curves out of sight at such a short distance. So this is how I summarize this whole thing, that this is probably not what's happening with the ships and the oceans. And then we also talked about Lake Balaton in my beautiful country Hungary, which is 48 miles long or 77 kilometers long, and the curvature of the Earth between the two ends of the lake results in a height difference of approximately 465.3 meters, which is nearly half a kilometer. So it means if you stand at one end of the lake, the other end is about this much lower due to the curvature. And the problem with that is that we have multiple footages, aerial footages, and you can see the lake is perfectly level and straight, and there is no any curvature. Apart from that, I was showing you a trailer of a 1-hour documentary which I recommended to watch till the end. It was at Lake Balaton, Hungary, and that was the world's biggest laser experiment, the most sophisticated long-distance laser experiment in history. There were 7 different measurements in 2 lakes, the Lake Balaton in Hungary and another one in the Netherlands, and they couldn't find any curvature. Again, check out the full documentary, they explain all the details. Link is in the description below. Now, we also mentioned that it's really interesting after looking at all these. And again, guys, I was on the globe side 100%. I was the loudest when it comes to ridiculing and laughing at flat earthers, and I'm sorry for that. But after looking at all this, I really need to ask the question, why do we think that this is normal? And those who believe in this, they are crazy, they are idiots, and they are conspiracy theorists. Simple, if there is no curvature, there is no globe. And I also mentioned this quote that the truth is the truth even if no one believes it, and the lie is a lie even if everyone believes it. Now that's another question, that if the Earth is really flat, then how did they achieve this entire deception? How can they lie to everyone on a worldwide scale without people noticing it? And why do they do it? These are very important questions, and we will discuss them much later in the series, somewhere towards the end. But to give you an idea, I made an entire video about the power of television and how much are we all brainwashed and manipulated through the mainstream media and other sources. And in this video, I gave gave you a lot of examples, I show you a lot of footages, so if you watch it, you will understand perfectly how easy it is to manipulate us to believe anything they want us to believe. So I will include this link in the description as well. Go ahead and check it out. And also, if you allow me, I'd like to clarify something again a little bit about my channel. So first of all, this channel, as you probably noticed, is not a flat earth channel, and it's not going to be a flat earth channel. I'm just making a series about this topic, and I put it into separate episodes because I do believe there's a lot to explain to really understand the geocentric model. But my channel is really about the great awakening that's happening worldwide, which is also a spiritual awakening that more and more people experience on a daily basis. And I make videos regarding anything that fits into this topic, whether if it's false history or all kinds of mysteries or a little bit of spirituality, our energy centers, our chakras, and how human energy works. I cover some astrology and numerology stuff, and the part of the awakening is also this entire series, the Flat Earth series, regardless what you believe. So I just wanted to clarify that my videos are for those who are either have some information already, or they are aware of what flat earth really is and they want to see more details, or they are interested to see how I present this and how I tell you my story, my awakening story into this journey. And it's also for those who don't know it yet, but they are curious, or they are open-minded, or they just want to get entertained. But if you are here to laugh and ridicule and troll me and just to debunk flat earth, these videos are not for you. And please do me a favor and go watch something else, because my channel is clearly not for you if that's the case. So the series will continue, and obviously while I make the new episodes, I also might release different type of content on the channel as well. So I just wanted to clarify that. But just to give you an idea how much we're gonna cover, as I said, pretty much everything, and we are really just getting started. So we're gonna talk about things like Antarctica and the so-called ice wall, or this celestial dome, the firmament. We will talk about the sun in a lot of details, the moon, the days and nights, and how seasons work on the flat earth. We will talk about eclipses, both the solar and lunar eclipses. We will talk about the North Pole and the magnetic pole. We talk about satellites, gravity, pilots, airplanes, flight routes, maps and flags, and the possibility of more land, even the possibility of extraterrestrials. We will talk about asteroids, dinosaurs, evolution, Big Bang. So really a lot of things, and we will talk about a lot towards the end about energy and frequency and vibration and the ether and Nikola Tesla and a lot more. So I'm super excited. But as I said, we will continue with something that needs to be clarified before we do all of this, and that's outer space, NASA, SpaceX, all the space agencies, ISS, and even the moon landing. So that's where we're gonna continue. I just wanted to give you this bonus, as I said, so I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in part 7. Stay blessed.